I was interviewed yesterday on somebody else's channel, and as the lady introduced me, she said, "We've got Richard Vobes. He is the man of the moment. Everyone's talking about him." And I thought, well, that's very strange. I'm just a man sitting in a chair giving my opinion. And it's very odd that people are even listening to the nonsense that comes out of my face, although I don't think of it as nonsense. They are just my opinions. And I'm not really an information service, in the way that many of the other YouTube channels seem to be able to get all sorts of information from undisclosed sources and pass it on. I'm looking at those sort of sources myself and thinking, oh, is this really true? Is this really happening? I'm just asking questions and sharing my opinion. In a way, I suppose you could say that I'm planting seeds of doubt about what the mainstream media say, for example, or what the government, the benevolent, kind and generous government are saying to us, because it just seems to me that things are a little out of kilter. And as one goes through all of this, trying to use a little bit of critical thinking, I'm finding, of course, like so many of you, as you've emailed me, that things are quite scary, frightening. And my son, when I've spoken to my eldest son, I'm sure now he thinks I'm a bit of a nut job. He thinks I've ventured down the rabbit hole and I'm looking too far. And maybe I am, who knows? Well, I might well be isolated and in some form of echo chamber. And that does worry me, that everything I see is all on the same side, and I'm not necessarily thinking completely straight about perhaps all of this is a bit made up or a bit nonsense. And so I am concerned about that, and it does worry me. I don't want to just be spouting anything that people send me, because people send me loads of links and they say, look at this, you should mention it on your show. And sometimes I am a bit resistant to that, because unless I really have an opinion, then I'm just regurgitating what somebody else says, and I don't think that's fair. I do talk of fear quite a bit, of saying, this is happening or that's happening, and is it right? And it seems incredibly frightening. And I think that the they, and I think who the they are, the governments and the unelected bureaucrats, the people who seem to be advising the government, these independent think tanks that seem to have sprung up from nowhere. They're all as rich as God, really, and they're determined to tell us how we are all going to live. That is the they that I refer. I think they want us to be frightened. They want us to be scared. And at the moment, it's not hard to be scared, because there's so much thrown at us, isn't there? All over the place. And I wonder, with all of this stuff that's coming down the line, is it just a distraction? Is it to get us, to be at each other's throats, not concentrating on one thing or the real thing, that we're looking at this and we're worried about that, and then we're looking at the other and we're worried about that too, and there's so many things. I mean, I've written some examples here. So, for example, one of the things that I've heard, of course, and people have told me this is a true thing and I don't know, is that we're going to be sent text messages to our phones from the government, say that there is an imminent nuclear attack. Now, they're going to say that this is purely a rehearsal and there's nothing to worry about. But of course, in and of itself, that is quite scary, to receive a message from the government about an imminent attack. Of course, that's going to be scary. Well, I had one correspondent said, but that's not what it's about, Richard. No, that's about making people aware of the war in Russia and the Ukraine and the battle going on over there, and to make us take sides, whether you're on the Ukraine side or the Russian side, which of course is another way to divide and conquer, a huge distraction while potentially other things are happening. And of course, you can see how that could be once they've sent you a text message. Many people who have never seen my videos, have never seen any freedom videos, people trying to sort of wake people up or anything, out of the blue get this message. you can see how they can suddenly be jolted into thinking about a subject which in their ordinary everyday lives they probably dismissed and just thought it's none of our business. Another example extreme example of something bizarre was an email of a website saying that one of the plans that they are going to do in order to conquer climate change and to save the planet, they found a way to adjust the weather, and they can darken the skies to filter out the sun and the terrible CO2 rays that are coming in, and that will save us. And I just think to myself, well, that's complete and utter nonsense. And again, if you take away the sunshine, you're taking away the ability of people to have vitamin D, of course, and to keep their immune system up, and it would cause more anxiety and more fear. It just seems to me that's the type of thing that they're really aiming for. Now, whether they can do that, whether that's again just fear mongering on its own, maybe. But it's one of those things that keeps people thinking in the wrong direction, keeping their vibrations not high and up there and happy and jolly, but keeping them down and depressed. Another example here is, of course, the old notion that everything will be taken away from us, that we will have nothing and we'll be happy, and we will rent everything. Everything will be on a subscription. Now, I don't know if you've noticed that with a lot of software at the moment. So much of software is by subscription. I used to have a package for editing my videos, and then all of a sudden you couldn't just buy it, you had to subscribe to it. And I believe that there's a word processing package, a whole sort of office scheme of software that now is in the same process. You're ending up a little amount every month, but if you just bought it, that's it. You may not ever want to upgrade or have any other improvements to it, and you've only spent a minimum amount. But no. Now you've got to subscribe. And in a way, to me, that's just a way of grooming us so that we will do everything by subscription and that actually we won't own anything, which is a little bit of a worry. And of course, we've heard all about the other things, no doubt. If you've not seen any of my videos, this is something I've been waffling on about, things like the digital IDs that are coming down, in which all our information is going to be stored somewhere and anybody can have access to it in the government, or the third parties that the government use, or the hackers who hack into the government's website or the third party websites, and that they can use it and have that information that we've basically given away free, which is our private information. And at the end of the day, they shouldn't have any of it in the first place. That's down to us. If we want to give that information away, it should be ours. I know there's the argument that we give away a hell of a lot when we go onto places like Facebook and other social media services by showing us eating in a restaurant, the type of food we have. We show off our children, don't we? And all that data is already being gathered with facial recognition and biometrics and things like that. But that is our choice to share that information, even if we are unaware that it's being data harvest, rather than the government demanding it from us. Net zero, the ridiculous policy based on the myth of global warming, that we're going to have to absolutely reduce our CO2 footprint and basically go extinct if we try to go to this ridiculous target of net zero. The whole climate change thing, of course, we know. And then there's the central bank digital currency, the potential run on the banks, the sort of collapse of the banking industry, the move to this magic central bank digital currency, which will be given to us as a convenience, as a way of don't panic, your money is safe, we can do it this way, you won't need cash, we'll phase that out, it's so cumbersome. But of course it really means that the government or the central bank will have access to our money and our decision making by giving us permission. I made a video about that yesterday. And do you know, I think all of these things is designed just to wear us down, to make us scared. And what it does is it stamps on our happiness. And happiness is one of the most important things. It's one of those things that gets us through life. We only have one life. And if we're miserable and fearful all the way through, it's almost hardly worth being here. We need to raise ourselves and keep ourselves happy. And that's the one thing they don't want, it seems to me, on my opinion. There is, of course, so much benefit in the world. There's so many beautiful and natural things that can induce happiness. A walk in the countryside, seeing the sunrise or the sunset, the love of a good partner, your children laughing, babies giggling. There's so much wonderful things, and we owe it to ourselves to try and look for those things. Mostly they're free. Mostly the babbling of a brook can elicit such music to our ears. The beautiful music, the strains of an orchestra. There's so many things which in life is wonderful, and we can be distracted by that, by all the fear mongering that the government and these other people, these unelected people, are distracting us with. And I feel it's important, in order to keep our life balance and not be too frightened by these things, which is what they don't want us to be, is happy. We've got to keep ourselves happy and healthy, eating good food, of course, and taking back the responsibility. And this is something else that I bang on about, but we are responsible for our lives and for our happiness. And so much of that happiness can be found, luckily, at the moment, in the environment around me. I have my girlfriend sitting next to me on the left here, making sure I don't say anything, and she makes me extremely happy. Don't you, my dear?
I hope so.
She does. She's just sitting over there. She's putting on her face because we're going out to film for our other channel, The English Couple, a little bit later on, off to the farm shop again to try and get some real food, because we just don't really trust the mass-produced stuff. You just don't know what's in it. But she makes me happy. Our children make us happy. Our parents make us happy. We've got to try and remember that. It's very easy, I think, to get distracted by all the fear and end up spiralling down. So it is good to do that. Now, I think, and I've been thinking about this for some time, I think that the government people, these unelected people, the people who think they're in charge, I think they have an Achilles heel. And I tell you what it is. I think they're jealous. I know that sounds very strange. Here's us with no money or little money or a bit of money or a few savings tucked away and in our little houses. And there's them with their big private jets and their islands and their yachts. But I do think they're jealous. I think they resent us, because you know what we have that they don't? At the moment we have, to a certain degree, we have freedom. I can walk down the street. Yes, okay, I'm on a YouTube channel, and as the lady in the intro to the interview I did said, oh, you're the man at the moment, everyone's talking about you. And I know they're not really, and thank God, because I can walk down the street and nobody really knows me. I can walk into a pub and have a drink. I can go into a cafe and have a cup of coffee. I can go and look around the vegetables well, I would do if there was a lovely greengrocer, but I can go to my farm shop and nobody really knows who I am, and nobody really knows who you are, just your friends, your relations and acquaintances. And that's really useful, because they can't go anywhere without being recognised, without being hated. I saw a video of the notorious the health secretary, Matt Hancock, going on the underground, being hassled, quite rightly in my opinion, by a disgruntled and angry gentleman who was videoing him and really bullying him to a certain degree verbally for the terrors that this man has enforced on everybody with his relentless trying to mandate something, a procedure, a medical procedure that people actually didn't really need. Maybe some people were benefiting from it, but not the rest of them. And then this ex health secretary appeared on the Jungle programme trying to prove that as an MP, as a member of Parliament, you know, Parliament being the speaking of lies, that he was human. Well, of course, he is a human being, But is he moralistically human? Has he got humanity on his conscience? I don't think so. And I think that's true, that they cannot walk amongst the rest of us and disappear. We know who they are. And I think they're jealous about that. Because although they've got all that money, although they've got everything, they haven't got that freedom. And you know what else they haven't got? They haven't got immortality. We will all grow old and we will all die. And so will they. And I don't think they like that. I think that's why they're aiming for this AI, so they can get all their ideas and how things will go and end up with this sort of half human, half robot type thing that's coming down the line. Again, something else to scare us, sold as a benefit for us, but I don't think so. But they will die, and they are immortal, and they cannot. No, they're mortal. That's the right word, isn't it? They're mortal. They're not immortal. Sorry, there you go. See, it's so easy when the camera is on you. They are mortal and they will die. They think they're immortal. They think they can live forever, but they can't. And they know that. And I think that's why they're jealous. That's one reason why they want to control us and why they hate us. Because they are actually the same as us. They are mortal. And at one point, and some of them, those ones that we see on the telly telling us how we are supposed to live, they're getting quite old. And to me, it's laughable. It's laughable. And what they don't like more than anything else is a bit of humour and being laughed at. And I think we should laugh at them. No matter what they throw at us, we should laugh at them. They will not get the last laugh. We have that power. That's what I think. For example, why don't we laugh at them when the digital IDs come in and just simply say, OK, if we want digital IDs, you want us to have it? You have it first, government. You have it first. Let us look at every interesting on every bit of information that is about you. Let us have access to a computer so that we can read the information and read your health status. We can find out every private information about you. You've put us up there. You want us to do this. Let us have the control. You try it first. Have the digital IDs against you. And so wherever you go, you have to log in so that you know whether it works or not, whether it's nice or not, whether it feels comfortable or not. You do it first, people in government, and then do the trial, and then we will decide whether we want it for us. Maybe you'll realise that it's not as nice and as simple and as helpful and as beneficial as you might think. So I think we need to laugh at these idiots, these people who think they're in charge, these government officials. Laugh. We need to take back that responsibility for our own lives, raise our vibrations and not get distracted by all the fear. It's just my opinion, and I'd be interested to read your comments.